welcome to the official premiere of PM Magazine. I'm Jennifer Mills.
And I'm Mark Bailey. Now, for the next 30 minutes, just sit back, relax, and enjoy yourself, because we think we've got exactly what you've been looking for. Good evening, I'm Mark Bailey, and I think you're going to be surprised at where we're at tonight.
Well, I'm Jennifer Mills, and we'll tell you a little more about it later on.
Good evening, I'm Mark Bailey.
And I'm Jennifer Mills, and welcome to Chicago.
Good evening, and welcome one last time to PM Magazine. I'm Mark Bailey. You know, when we first broadcast our show 3 years ago, we promised that we would introduce you to fascinating people, show you exciting places, and lots of action and adventure would be part of the show. Well, tonight we'd like to take a look back and see how we did. Now, if I used this line once over the last 3 years, I've probably used it 100 times, but it always applies. What makes this job special is the people. A wise man once noted that every person has a story, and I have to believe that nowhere in the world are the stories more interesting than right in our own backyard. From Jeannie Thompson of Malden, who danced her way to fame on Dance Fever, to Carl Freeman, better known as the Woodpecker of Bat Cave, the man responsible for hand-carved souvenirs round the country, we never had to go far to find someone to point our cameras at. If variety is the spice of life, then consider the Carolinas well seasoned. From Ernest P. Worrell to trick shooter extraordinaire Dempsey Davis. From our own Southern Dr. Doolittle, David Meeks, to Mimi Weish, local girl making good on Broadway. The people we've introduced you to are more than just interesting stories. They represent all that is good about where we live. Talented, energetic, and determined to succeed. Determined to succeed, sometimes against great odds. That was a central theme of many of our stories. There was Jeremy Richardson, accidentally run over by a car at 9 years old. He braved pain and emotional trauma to become a champion brown belt in karate. Clark Harrison took a paralyzing bullet to the spine in World War II. His father always told him, if the world hands you a lemon, make lemonade. At age 55, Clark learned to fly. These people help to show us that our own lives might not be so bad. And if life did indeed hand us a lemon, well, most folks like lemonade. Many of the people we introduced you to overcame their problems and went on to help others, like National Jefferson Award winner J.T. Pace.
It is something that I can't explain. I'm so free. All the guilt of many years in my life now has turned into joy.
During that time, it wasn't.
He's become a spokesman for 28 million Americans. They can't read, and J.T. Pace says that's like being in prison.
It is. It is because you're not free. You don't. I mean, you can't obey the laws of the land because you can't read them, and you don't know anything about the Constitution because you can't read it. You can't obey the law of God because you can't read that. So here's a type of a prisoner that you're in.
But J.T. escaped from that prison, and at age 62 learned to read. Now he's helping others do the same.
My wife signed my marriage license. I said, boy, she sure took a chance to marry a guy like me with no education to make a living for her. But she put her life on the line.
On our final night of PM Magazine, we salute the spirit that motivates one to rise above the trials and tribulations of life. The spirit that says, I can make it. A spirit perhaps best summed up by Lisa Jones. Paralyzed by a polio-like virus, she struggled to learn to walk again with the aid of braces and crutches. Now, with the help of her best friend Madison, she's gained a measure of independence. In fact, she and Madison are off to college this fall. And while doctors say she may never walk again without those braces, Lisa Jones will never give up.
Right now it looks as if I'm kind of on a plateau and that I might not, but I still do the therapy. And always in the back of my mind, there's always that hope that something will come up and I will be able to. So I keep going on.
People always ask me what my favorite story is on PM Magazine, and I have to say that my favorite category is the people stories. But when you ask which of those people stories is my favorite, that's a lot like asking a parent who their favorite child is. They're all special. When we come back, the action and adventure that was PM Magazine. When you watch television these days, action and adventure have become synonymous with car chases and shootouts. And PM Magazine is no exception. But we think over the last 3 years we've managed to bring you a little more. Right now, sit back and try to relax as we bring you action PM style. In our search for action and adventure, we found one of the best BMX bike riders in the country right in our own backyard. At the ripe old age of 9, Robbie Bingham of Greenville held state titles in both North and South Carolina and was ranked as one of the top 40 riders in the country. Then we met Baron Cooley of Anderson, who held a world speed record for covering a quarter mile in an outboard racing boat. Most people would have been satisfied, but Baron knew he could go faster, and he did. Not for money, a trophy, or any official record, but just because we asked him to. Lake Hartwell was also where we met water skier Oscar McCurry. Guitars, chairs, even surfboards. If the device was what Oscar called safe, he'd ski on it. When we went to Atlanta, we found some people who were paying good money to be scared out of their wits by free fall. Jerry Barber of Greenville invented the ride and created the feeling of zero gravity, an experience you can't get anywhere else on Earth. From falling to brawling, we brought you the action when the NWA came to Greenville Auditorium. Well, looks like we've got some controversy here. Let's find out what's going to happen. Hold everything. Ronnie Garvin didn't win the belt after all. The referees say that during the match, Tully hit Garvin with the shoe and disqualified himself. But the match ended then, and according to wrestling rules, Tully keeps the belt. Are you following all this? One young spectator didn't miss a move, and 2 years later entered the ring herself. Professional wrestler Vicky Petticofer and her dad, better known to wrestling fans as Mindy and Pop, showed us their championship tag team form.
We went into the auditorium, like Greenville Auditorium, and we watched the NWA in there for a long time. I thought it looked pretty funny. I thought it'd be easy to do, but I was wrong.
From hand-to-hand combat to war games, we showed you a sophisticated version of Capture the Flag played by adults. Even though paint pellets took the place of bullets, it made most of the players think twice before opting for the real thing.
It would scare you if you had to go to war or something like that, because you see this right here. That was after 5 minutes, and that would have been my life.
And when we tired of being soldier for a day, we decided to clown around with John Gilstrap of Greer. He was voted the 1986 Clown of the Year. John said he preferred the title of Bullfighter for obvious reasons. 2 Carolina Cowboys competed in the International Pro Rodeo Championships, and although Jesse Reese didn't have quite the day he hoped for, Tim Leonard's ride earned him the honor of being the 4th best bull rider in the world.
It takes a pretty good man to climb on the back of a horse or a bull or something, you know. Ain't many people can do that and do it good.
Well, I certainly rose to the occasion.
Say goodnight, Danny. That'll do it for us from Fountain Inn. And I really didn't do too bad on an English saddle for the first time. Did I? Yeah, what are you laughing at? See you tomorrow. I'm off. I'm off. I'm off.
For some reason, when the cameras were rolling and I heard someone call action, this wasn't quite what I had in mind. Up close and personal involvement like that brought me some of my more memorable moments on PM Magazine. In fact, hardly a day goes by that somebody doesn't remind me about falling off that horse. When we come back, one last whirlwind trip around the world. Welcome back to our final episode of PM Magazine. You know, as I've opened your many cards and letters and visited with you out on the streets, one thing I keep hearing over and over again is how much you've enjoyed our trips on PM Magazine. It's a great chance to see new places and meet new people without ever leaving your home. But believe me, we enjoyed those trips too, and right now we'd like to take a look back at some of our favorite travels. Bergamo, Italy, Greenville's sister city. Although we didn't speak the language, Jennifer seemed to be right at home with their customs. We explored the lower section of the city, where we met world-renowned fashion designer Trussardi. His creations in leather are giving women the option to look professional and feel feminine at the same time. From there, we went to Città Alta, or the Upper City, where Bergamo's history remains alive and unspoiled with national treasures such as the Colleoni Chapel. But equally as world-famous in Bergamo is the scenery. Every direction offered a beautiful vista of the Italian Alps, the lush green valleys, and the rich farm terrain. For a taste of Europe without ever crossing the ocean, we headed north to the French-speaking province of Quebec. Perhaps the best draw to this frozen city is their annual Winter Carnival, the world's largest celebration of winter. From ice sculpting to ice racing, the festivities seem to melt away the dreary spirit of winter. And although the temperatures continue to drop, as they say in Quebec,
c'est la vie. It's part of the game when you're up in the north with the lousy weather sometimes. It's part of our life, so being stuck with it, we'd better try to find the best we can do out of it.
Jumbo, welcome to Kenya.
Our encounter in this third world country was one to always be remembered. We found Kenya to be a land of extremes, the most beautiful and the most barren. A place crowded with people and city buses, yet surrounded by open spaces of quiet and solitude. We flew into some of the remote Maasai villages, and it was there that we met 77-year-old Maddie DeMott, a woman who gave up her California country clubs to become a volunteer with the African Medical Research Foundation. We also met Joyce Poole, a researcher who was studying the language patterns of elephants.
We've identified 15 different calls, and so one of them is a greeting rumble. There's a lost calf call, that's a rumble. There's a let's go rumble.
But the overwhelming attraction for us in Kenya was, and always will be, the wildlife. For a royal getaway, we traveled to London and even met up with some royal next of kin. Viscount Charles Althorp, the brother of Princess Diana. Family connections in high places didn't seem to mean much to Charles. Instead, he chose a journalistic career as a London correspondent for the Today Show.
Good morning, Brian.
Then we visited the British Common Cold Unit, the only facility of its kind in the world, where researchers are trying to find a cure for the common cold. And before leaving, we met British author Martin Fido, a man who claims to finally have identified England's most infamous criminal, Jack the Ripper. And finally, our PM Magazine passport took us halfway around the world to Kiwi country. Here we met the man behind New Zealand's America's Cup Challenge, Michael Fay. He alone is funding the largest America's Cup Challenger to be built in more than 50 years. For the latest in New Zealand fashion designs, we talked to Benson & Hedges Award winner Min Ta. Born in Vietnam, this New Zealand immigrant is finally seeing her dreams come true.
See the gold on the top of the clay.
And we got a glimpse of gold from Des Gavin, a New Zealand prospector who still enjoys doing things the old-fashioned way. The sights, the sounds, the experience and charm of another culture. Those were the doors that were open to us as our PM Magazine passport took us around the world. Now, unlike trying to name a favorite story, I can tell you my favorite trip with no problem. Hands down, it was Africa. There was a place that was everything it was cracked up to be, and even more once we actually got there. When we come back, those moments on PM Magazine that didn't go quite the way we planned. Interesting people, action and adventure, exotic travel. The perfect job, right? Well, sometimes things didn't always go as perfectly as planned. It's an evening of romance. I'm Mark Bailey.
And I'm Jennifer Meade. Good evening, I'm Jennifer Mills.
And I'm Mark Bailey.
And as you'll see, Paul has proved that many times determination and drive outweigh physical ability. Famous faces on the silver screen, but first we ask the folks here in Gaffney. What characteristics do you think you have to have?
The folks here in Gaffney, a chance. I'm really having trouble today.
Public Information Department, and a party's not a party without a party. Oh, shoot.
Oh. It's you.
Oh, it is? Mm-hmm. I thought you were going to do it.
Step, kick, leap, kick, touch. One question that we hear all the time.
If you were a teen at the time, you probably remember the jerk, the pony, or the swim. No, the swim. To celebrate the 25th, I've got pothole in my teeth. I'm trying to make sure there's no Doritos in my teeth. He went on one too. It was great.
And of course, Tom Selleck, who you see that famous Ferrari of his. Famous celebrities have Ferraris, of course.
You want to try a line?
Not bad. Well, some celebrities that are feed them and they go to pieces. Yep, feed them and they go to pieces. The food, one of my favorite parts of the job, and something that we could have devoted an entire segment to, but unfortunately, we're out of time. 3 wonderful years, 3 years of great memories. I'll cherish them, and I hope you will too. Now, we're not going to say goodbye because, as I've been telling you for several weeks now, coming up on September 19th, I'll be hosting Early Morning with Nan Banks. And early morning it is, folks, 6:30, Monday through Friday. I'll be helping you try to start your day off right. Please, I need you there to help me start my day off right. Now, one last thing before we go. Something very special, near and dear to all of us here at PM Magazine, our own private photo album. These are the pictures we'll be showing our grandkids about 25 years from now, and we'd like to share them with you. Have a great evening, a wonderful weekend, and I'll see you September 19th.